What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Lions video. Now, the other day we made a video, we had an installation about an early projected 53-man roster, a group of 53 players that are currently on the Detroit Lions roster that may or may not end up making the final 53 along with a possible 10-man practice squad, and really kind of gave an early projection of what this team may look like going into week 1 of the regular season. However, today I want to take that a step further, using that 53-man roster, using that projected 53 players and 10-person practice squad. I wanted to go over projected roles. I want to look at these players and say, okay, who is going to do what? Who is going to take on this particular role? Who's going to be quarterback 1? Who's going to be wide receiver 1? What roles are DAndre Swift and Jamaal Williams going to share? What, is the starting offensive line going to look up? Is there going to be any rotation there like we've seen in the past? Who's going to be the primary backup to TJ Hockenson? Roles and scenarios like that are the things that I wanted to address today. In today's video, I want to go over a projected starting offense with roles and players and really try to get a good idea and a good grasp of what we may be seeing in the product that may be put on the field come week 1 versus the 49ers. Now, before we get into this video, before we start taking a look at projected roles on this offense, if you are new to the channel and you are enjoying the content, if you are enjoying this Detroit Lions content, please consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It takes just 2 seconds out of your day to do so. It's quick, it's free, and it is incredibly easy, and you would be helping the channel out more than you could possibly know. So if you could do that, take those 2 seconds to like and subscribe. I'd be greatly appreciative for it. But with all of that being said, without any further ado, let's get right into looking at a possible projected offense for this Lions team.
So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
Now, starting off with the quarterback position, this is not really a tough one to put on the stat sheet. This is not a tough one to put on the roster sheet. Jared Goff is going to start the Detroit Lions season as quarterback 1, and unless something goes horribly wrong, he will end this season as the Detroit Lions quarterback 1. There are a lot of questions surrounding Jared Goff. There's a lot of different, focal points. There's a lot of different, viewpoints and a lot of differing opinions on our new starting quarterback, but a lot of the questions are more end of the season things. Is he the future of the Lions franchise? Can he be a franchise quarterback for a long time? Is he the future? Is he the guy that's going to take this team to the playoffs and to a Super Bowl? Is he the guy for the future? Those are really all the big questions surrounding our current quarterback situation, and not so much is he going to start the 2021 season. He is going to start the 2021 season. He is going to be the starting quarterback come week 1, and really a lot of Jared Goff's questions are going to be answered throughout the NFL season. A lot of Jared Goff's questions are going to be answered by the end of 2021 and more so than the start of 2021. And with that being the case, he is going to start and be the primary quarterback 1 for this Lions team, barring, of course, any injuries or anything going horribly wrong. Moving on to the running back position, DAndre Swift is going to start the season as running back 1 more likely than not. He is a true third down back with no true weakness. He can run, he can catch out of the backfield. He has really good contact balance, very good vision, doesn't quite have that top end speed, isn't really a guy that's necessarily going to go for an 85-yard breakaway burst for a touchdown. At least is not going to be a guy that can consistently do that over and over for you. Again, he can break off some big runs. We saw a 50-yard run in Jacksonville against the Jaguars. We saw a couple other big runs, a couple versus Washington, but he's more of an explosive player off the line. He's more of a guy that is quick, more so than fast, but all around, DAndre Swift is a true 3-down back, a guy that can run, a guy that can receive, a guy that has no real big flaw in his game other than maybe his top end speed. He will be and should be the running back 1, getting a majority of targets and getting a majority of touches, and may end up being the player to get the most touches, or at least may end up being the skill position position and the one skill player with the most touches by the end of the season. However, he is not going to be the only running back getting carries and will not be the only running back seeing touches this season. Of course, Jamaal Williams, one of our bigger free agency signings from this past offseason, is likely going to have a large role in the offense as well. He's going to be a guy that off the field, in the locker room, is a leader, is a guy that gets people excited, is a guy that gets people ready, and is really going to be the heart and soul of the locker room, or is going to be one of the bigger players, one of the bigger pieces in the Detroit Lions locker room as far as being a leader and really just being a personality that they want in the building, a guy that loves football and a guy that just loves to have fun and brings that energy every single day to practices and to games. But on the field, Jamaal Williams is also going to be an integral part of the offense. I see Jamaal Williams being more of a short yardage or goal line kind of back. He is 6 foot, even 213 pounds, so he is a very compact running back, but he is incredibly powerful when he runs. More than half his yards a season ago came after contact, and a lot of his production came in short yardage or goal line situations. Jamaal Williams, being just 6 foot, is a little bit of a shorter player at the running back position, but being 213 pounds makes him incredibly tough and very difficult to bring down in the open field or just in a big pile. He's a guy that can consistently push the pile. He's strong enough to push for that 1-2 extra yards. He's strong enough to run through players and get yardage after contact. As I said, over half his yardage a season ago was from after contact, and I do believe Jamaal Williams will be a guy to get probably 6-7 touchdowns this season. I do believe in goal line situations, especially if it's like a 3rd or 4th and goal, you're at the 1 yard line and you really just need a powerful player to run through a person or really just push the pile. I believe Jamaal Williams is the player to do that, and I think you're going to see Jamaal Williams maybe vulture a couple touchdowns from DAndre Swift, maybe vulture a couple touchdowns from Jared Goff, but at the end of the day, he's going to keep this offense efficient. He's going to keep this red zone offense efficient and more efficient than it was even a season ago, and I believe Jamaal Williams, even though he may not have the most yards in the NFL, even though he may not lead the NFL in touchdowns or even lead the team in touchdowns, I do believe his role on and off the field is going to be very, very important to the way this Lions team looks come 2021. Now Jamar Jefferson, I think, will also get touches this season. He's more of a change of pace back, a guy that is just really good all around, has really good skill set, and really doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. I think he's a guy that's probably going to get 70 touches a season, a guy that can receive a little bit, can run a little bit, a guy that maybe gets 4-5 carries a game just to kind of even the load, spread out the load, and really give DAndre Swift and Jamaal Williams a well-deserved break and a well-deserved breather without having the level of play drop significantly. Now, moving on to offensive line, we've talked about the offensive line before. I don't think there's going to be a lot of change. I don't think there's going to be a lot of rotation in the offensive line unless, of course, injuries do arise. The starting offensive line will and should be Taylor Decker at left tackle, Jonah Jackson at left guard, Frank Ragnow locking down at the center position, being the best in the NFL, Big V starting at the right guard position, and Penei Sewell, the 7th overall pick, being our starting right tackle. Hopefully everybody stays healthy. Hopefully this offensive line can stay healthy and reach their ceiling this year, because if they reach their ceiling, they will be a top 5 unit in the entirety of the NFL, and of course in turn making the Detroit Lions a more efficient offense and overall just a better overall football team. Now, moving on to tight end, of course TJ Hockenson is going to open the season and play the season as your tight end 1. He's coming off a Pro Bowl season, arguably a top 4, top 3 tight end in the NFL, but at the very worst, he is a top 5 tight end in football. He has no true weakness. He's a really good blocker, has pretty good speed, has phenomenal hands, has a really good work ethic, has really no true weakness, and is a top 4 tight end by most people's accounts. Of course, many people are going to put Travis Kelce and George Kittle and Darren Waller above him, but at that point, you can really make the case and make a really good, strong case that TJ Hockenson is a number 4 tight end in the NFL, and now with a quarterback in Jared Goff that has shown he likes to use tight ends, a guy that uses tight ends a lot in LA, and now knowing that TJ Hockenson is likely going to be the number 1 option, the number 1 target in Detroit, you could see TJ Hockenson jump into that top 3 conversation, and really the sky is the limit for TJ Hockenson now that he is the number 1 weapon. However, he's not going to be the only tight end getting receptions. He's not going to be the only tight end on the field for the Detroit Lions, and I do believe our tight end 2 and our primary red zone tight end is going to be Darren Fells, the recently added free agent acquisition. Now, Darren Fells is a player who stands at 6'4", 6'7", 270 pounds. There are not too many players in the NFL that are going to be able to outsize or outmuscle him to the football. He's a player that over the past 2 seasons with the Houston Texans has totaled over 11 receiving touchdowns from Deshaun Watson. He has been a red zone threat for a while. He has been a player that just really thrives in the red zone with his size and with his weight. He boxes players out very well, is very long, very big player, and really just is a big-time red zone threat. I believe that Darren Fells is going to be the primary tight end too. He's not really all that productive between the 20s, but once you get in the red zone, you better believe that Darren Fells is gonna get the football. And then moving on to arguably the most intriguing position this year is the wide receiver position. Now, to me, I think this is pretty simple. Tyrell Williams is going to be your wide receiver one. He's a guy that stands at 6'4", runs in the 4.4s for the 40-yard dash. He's big, he's fast, he's strong. He's a really good player, very solid player all around. Reminds me a little bit of Marvin Jones just from the fact that he's not a true number one. He's not a guy that is going to be the biggest player. He's not going to get you 1,000 yards every single season. He's not a guy that is going to get you 1,400 yards, leads the NFL in yards or touchdown receptions, but a guy nonetheless that is just going to be solid, going to be a good player, is going to be your wide receiver one, but really isn't going to be your offensive weapon number one. That, of course, is going to TJ Hawkinson, and probably offensive weapon number two going to DAndre Swift. But Tyrell Williams is more than capable of being a wide receiver one. We saw it in LA. We saw him have some success in Oakland as the primary number one wide receiver with a really good top 3 tight end like Darren Waller right alongside him. We saw him have success there, so there is no reason Tyrell Williams can't be the number one in Detroit and can't be a really solid wide receiver one. Now, this one might be a little bit controversial, but I see the wide receiver 2 position going to second-year wide receiver Quintez Cephus. Now, Quintez Cephus is a very well-rounded player with very few weaknesses. He creates really solid separation and flashed very, very often in his rookie season. Of course, had some struggles with drops. Week 1, I believe he had 10 targets and only was able to receive 3 footballs, was only able to haul in 3 catches, which is a little bit disappointing. But over and over and over again last season, Quintez Cephus showed a lot of flashes, showed exactly what he was capable of as a 5th-round wide receiver out of Wisconsin. He showed a lot of things, and especially recently in training camp, Quintez Cephus has been showing a lot of skills, been showing his ability to separate, and seems to have far more consistent hands going into his sophomore season. So with that being the case, with him working so hard, with him showing all those flashes in year 1, I think he wins the number 2 wide receiver spot outright, and I think he starts on the boundary alongside Tyrell Williams. And with that being the case, I believe the number 3 wide receiver on the roster and the primary slot receiver for the season is going to be 4th-round selection Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown, to me, has shown flashes of Golden Tate. He's a guy that is really good after the catch, a guy that is really good even in contested catches, a guy that at USC really showed an ability to do everything that is asked of him. He was really good after the catch, was really good in the open field, was really good contested catching, was really good with route running, had really good hands. Like, overall, I don't believe he should have been a day 3 pick. I think he should have been a late day 2 pick at the very latest. Slipped to day 3, slipped to round 4. I got to announce it. I got to draft the kid. I could not be more ecstatic about it. But, you know, a player that is going to have a chip on his shoulder, a player that is really good in all facets of the game, a player that is obviously undervalued from the NFL draft, a player that is an absolute steal by the Detroit Lions, and a day 3 pick is going to be your primary starting slot receiver, and I think is going to thrive in that role with, of course, TJ Hawkinson taking a majority of the targets, of course, with Tyrell Williams and Quintez Cephus really being the other 2 big threats. I think Amon-Ra is going to fly under the radar for a lot of the NFL season, and he's going to be one of those quiet wide receivers that just racks up yardage and touchdowns, and he's going to be a guy that, you know, benefits from being an underutilized, undervalued, and really a guy that just isn't talked about a lot. I think Amon-Ra is going to have a phenomenal rookie season. I think he's going to show a lot of flashes, like we saw with Quintez Cephus a season ago. And really, I think you're going to see Amon-Ra be one of the quieter but more efficient rookie wide receivers from this NFL class. And moving on to Rashod Perryman's role, this is a guy that a lot of people have talked and speculated about. I think that Rashod Perryman is going to take on kind of a Marvin Hall-esque role, a guy that is very fast, of course, Rashod Perryman running a legit 4.2 40-yard dash, even being timed in at some point at a 4.19, which would be by far a combine record and pro day record. I mean, he's a guy that has legit 4.2 speed and low 4.2 speed at that. He's a guy that does have inconsistent hands. I believe has not had a season above a 50% catch percentage in his career, or if he has, it was only one time. He's a guy that is inconsistent, a guy that doesn't have the greatest hands, but a guy that nonetheless is a really big-time, big play threat. A former first-round pick out of out of UCF. I think he's going to be a Marvin Hall guy, a guy that gets 3-4 targets a game, a guy that has 1 catch, 1 reception a game, but you know that reception is going to be 30, 40, 50 yards down the field for a big play, if not a big-time touchdown, to either flip the script or really seal a big-time victory for the Detroit Lions. I think Rashod Perryman takes on that kind of a role, getting a couple targets a game, but the receptions that he does eventually bring in and the catches that he does actually get are going to be your big-time, big-play shots down the field to really flip field position and maybe flip the script of a football game. I think Victor Bolden makes it as the 5th wide receiver. We talked about this in the 53-man roster video. I think Victor Bolden backs up Amon-Ra primarily as a slot receiver. He's quick, he is shifty, has really good hands, runs really solid routes. I wouldn't be shocked, like if you were to put Victor Bolden at a running back position, give him open space, I wouldn't be shocked if Victor Bolden was a really solid running back. I would not be surprised if Victor Bolden was a player that if you switched in position to running back or another position that was just really needed to be good in open space, he could do that because he's quick, he's shifty, he's a smaller guy, so he's really tough to get your hands on, and overall, he's been showing out very well in training camp, and I think he does make the roster as the primary backup slot wide receiver, and you may see Victor Bolden getting some receptions throughout the season, and again, kind of like Amon-Ra, just a guy flying under the radar, but a guy that's going to be more efficient than anybody's going to expect. And then I think Khalif Raymond is that second speedy wide receiver. He's a guy that also runs in the 4.3s, a little bit of a smaller player, but I think he's that second backup speedy wide receiver in case Rashod Perryman gets hurt. And I also think that Khalif Raymond is a guy that makes it as a wide receiver, but is more primarily used and utilized as a kick/punt returner. But with all of that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. That is my projected starting offense and my projected role players for the Detroit Lions going into the 2021 season. Let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know what you think about these projected starters. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? What players would you have playing in different roles? And what players would you maybe give bigger roles than I initially gave out? Let me know that down in the comments below. I'd be very interested to hear how you guys think and how you guys think this roster in starting offense is going to play out. But with all of that being said, that is all for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions!